Wealthier people, or people who are expected to make more money or have more gains on their assets, are beginning to flee Australia. Now, Australia has, over the last several years, been a place that a lot of millionaires have flocked to, mainly from Asia. It's been in a place where there's an attractive life. However, you're in a situation where you have, frankly, a really aggressive tax department. I've mentioned before that the ATO are some of the most aggressive, some of the worst people to deal with. People are concerned about the IRS. I would much rather deal with the IRS than with the ATO. The ATO are really, really aggressive. They're good at their job, and they're very strict, and they have tough rules to get around. Well, what is happening is they're on the cusp of potentially implementing some new rules related to residency and something called the 3-year rule. And because of this, what we are seeing is a bunch of people are wanting to get out before you're in a situation that this could kick in and affect you. So today I'm going to discuss a little bit about what this is all about, how, for a variety of reasons, a lot of people that are clients of mine and people that we know are interested in leaving Australia and not going to Australia, and why you may want to get out if you are there, or you may want to avoid going to Australia because of what you may be getting yourself into. So let's dive in and discuss that now. Before we do, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit the all notification bell. Thank you for your support. We really appreciate you. Really wonderful to have you with us. If it is your first time, I am Michael from Offshore Citizen. We are international tax and relocation specialists. We help you with figuring out how to design the optimal life and business structure for yourself. So what this means is, in order to maximize your freedom, your quality of life, your taxes, your financial and personal security and safety, how do you set yourself up, whether it's in one place or in multiple places? What is kind of the ideal solution for you and or your business? If you need to form companies abroad, how do you have them interact? How do you make that legal? How do you relocate some of your income so you can minimize your taxes? How do we kind of orchestrate all of that for you, come up with the best customized solution for you, jurisdiction agnostically? We don't have any particular, it's not like some people would say, you're in Dubai, you're pushing Dubai. No, I don't push Dubai, I don't push Bulgaria, I don't push any of these particular places. It's what is best for you, and every situation is different. So hence we help you to figure out what is specifically great for you, and then help you to implement that. And if you're interested in help with any of that, please reach out to us. You can book a call with me, calendly.com/Michael-Rosmer. There's a link in the description below. And otherwise, you can message us through offshorecitizen.net. Okay, so talking about Australia. So I've gone through and I've done some previous videos talking about the Australian residency test. They are grueling. You could, if you kind of read through some of these, you could have gone out of Australia, you could have not been there in years, and you could still be an Australian tax resident and required to pay tax. In particular, if you return to Australia, they could hit you. It's a very likely thing that they will audit you and come after you and make it not pleasant. So definitely you want to be careful. Anytime you're dealing with the Australian tax office, you want to make sure you are extremely on the point and following all the rules to the letter, because they are on it. And so if you're not, that's a game of chess you're going to lose. So one of the most recent changes that they have been talking about bringing in, and I did a video about it a while ago, is they've been talking about bringing in some new residency rules and something called the Bright Line test. Now, this is to some extent a positive change, because right now the residency rules are quite ambiguous. I've criticized places like Australia and Canada for having these really ambiguous rules. I think in general it's an unjust thing if you don't know if you're following the law, right? This is just fundamentally, if I have to go to court to figure out if I'm following the law, probably the law is not worded clearly enough, it's not fair, and therefore I should not be required to follow it. That would be, I think, a reasonable position for treating people in the world well, right? For treating your citizens well. But they don't take that position. They take the position that they would like to extract what they can from you. You are a cow to be milked, and so, this is what the deal is. So hence, what can we find? Well, at least the good thing here with the Bright Line test is it will make it clear whether you're a resident or not. Okay, so that's a positive thing. The problem is the rules are relatively draconian. So to give you some idea, I've talked about how there's a bit of a myth around the 183-day rule that a lot of people talk about. They'll say, I'm not there 183 days, I should be fine, right? Wrong, wrong. You could be tax resident in place even if you are there 183 days. It depends on the country. It's varies country to country. Again, there's no one size fits all. You have to look at the specifics. But Australia is making theirs that it could be 45 days. Okay, if you're there 45 days, you could be tax resident, and that's really not great. And as part of this, if you're ceasing to be a resident, they have this 3-year rule about, if you've been a resident there 3 consecutive years. And so you can have this short-term resident status or this long-term resident status, and there's different kind of rules for figuring out depending on whether you have been a previous resident or not over that time. So because of this, you're going to be in a situation where if you get out before that, you'll be able to kind of show that you haven't been a resident previously. That can put you into a better box. So as a result, we're having people coming to us and saying, listen, the tax year turnover is in the summer. And so because of this, you're like, okay, I want to get out before June because I don't want to be caught in this particular net, right? It's very important to me to avoid being caught in this Australian tax net. And we don't know what they're going to bring out. Maybe it will implement at that time, and if it does, then I'm caught accordingly. So that's just part of it. Now, the other, obviously during COVID, Australia is pretty draconian. I mean, you can look and you can say, as a citizen, were you able to return? Oh no, you weren't. Were you able to leave? Only with special permission. I had clients who would have to request special permission, would get denied, they'd appeal again, they would go to the airport. One guy told me, they looked at him and they said, wow, you're really brave going out there. You could die, I said, wow, this is the mindset. So hence this sort of nanny state with a lot of kind of tall poppy syndrome, lots of rules, country may not be the place that some people would think. It's you might think, okay, well, they kind of were started as a nation, as a British colony by sending lots of criminals there. You think, turns out they're going back to their penal colony roots. So not to say that you can't appreciate Australia. Obviously, good weather, lots to love, actually, good quality of life in a lot of regards, etc. But for a lot of people who are in our line of work, who are more freedom-minded and they're interested in things related to it, if you were thinking to go and get set up there, maybe you shouldn't, because it's quite difficult to escape that system. And they have demonstrated that they're not particularly so good. So now, obviously, the question is, where would you go? And when we're looking at people in Australia, one of the safest things that we can do is we can get out by moving to a country where there's a tax treaty. Now, unfortunately, Australia doesn't have a very good network of tax treaties, so usually the best place, there are a variety of places you can go, but one of the best places that you can go is in Southeast Asia. So typically places like Thailand, Malaysia are fairly attractive for Australians. Now there's, others, people go to Mexico, people go to other parts of the world as well. But the optimal scenario, it's not required, but the optimal scenario is to move from Australia to a tax treaty country and then go from there. So anyway, that is the update. Be aware that these new rules are coming into effect at an uncertain time, so we're not totally sure on that, but they're kind of rolling them forward. There was some talk when they originally proposed these that maybe it would be a situation that, these are a little draconian, we're not going to do them. Well, it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like they just continue to push forward with them. And it'll be unfortunate for Australians because it'll make it a lot more difficult to return and spend as much time seeing family, friends. If you think during COVID, you would have had to spend much of that time in quarantine anyway, so very difficult to manage. Well, they don't seem to care about that. They're pretty aggressive, so you could easily get caught into their tax net and hit with pretty high taxes. So think about it. If you're an Australian, reach out to us. Happy to help you, and I will look forward to seeing you guys on the next video.